wanting to attack my family. There's the old Cold War sayings, kill a commie for mommy, or better dead than red. I believed in that 100%. That's why I was rushing to join the armed forces, because I viewed the Soviets as a threat worthy of my life, to give my life up in defense of my country against this threat. I wasn't ignorant of their culture, their language, who they were, but I had put it through a filter that hardened me to view them as the enemy, and therefore to be prepared and be willing to kill them if called upon to do so. Now I'm suddenly sent over there into the city of Vodkinsk, which is literally 750 miles east of Moscow in the foothills of the Ural Mountains, in an area that had been closed to foreigners since the revolution. So we're the first non-German prisoners of war, because some German POWs went there and helped build buildings, but we're the first non-German prisoners of war to come to Vodkinsk. 30 Americans who aren't there just temporary. We're building a permanent inspection facility outside of a Soviet missile factory that's producing missiles that are solely produced to hit the United States. In fact, when the first missiles came out, we would joke when we inspected, we'd name them. I think the first one we named Pittsburgh, the second one we named Des Moines, the third one we named Chicago, and then we were told to stop naming them because it was too close to the truth. I mean, it made people uncomfortable. But so it's serious business that we're doing that's related to the security of the United States. But this isn't about us coming in and imposing our will. This is a cooperative venture. This is us working with our Soviet counterparts to create an inspection process that they have agreed to. They're doing the same thing, by the way, in the United States outside of a U.S. missile factory in Magna, Utah, near Salt Lake City, with 30 people permanently living there, learning. And Americans are now being exposed to the inspectors, at the Soviet inspectors, going, hey, they're just like us. They're humans. They have a sense of humor. My God, they laugh. They have a wife. They have kids. They have animals. They have pets. They love music. They love to dance. They love to play guitar. They love to do everything we love to do. And that was it. I remember the local press, the Leninsky Put, the Way of Lenin, Communist Party newspaper. And in the old days, you'd sit there and go, Communist Party newspaper. Oh, yeah. These are bad people. Well, the editor was a female named Elvira Bukina, I think. And she came along with her staff to interview the inspectors. And she's just sitting there. I mean, she's literally, her eyes are wide and her jaw's dropping. And she's just like, you're humans. we were led to believe that you guys were like bad. And then they talked to us and they realized that we had all the foibles of humans, meaning, we had some Democrats, we had some Republicans. This was in 1988. So we've got a presidential election coming up, where, and they're like, well, you guys are friends, but you're a Republican, you're a Democrat. How can you be friends? Because politics doesn't define who we are. We go shopping. There was a Dom Moda, the house of fashion. And I'd go there and pick out cloth and talk to bring the measurements of my wife and try and get them to make a dress for my wife. And so they'd have to bring in a Soviet girl, a woman, and they'd say, is she the same form as your wife? And I'm like, this is embarrassing, but she's the closest one. So they'd measure the dress off of her. Wow. And it's just this sort of thing where we're walking around the town, running into the kids, and we're playing soccer with the kids, teaching them to play softball. We're playing basketball against the city champions. We're having comedy contests with the Young Communist League. It was just a transformative moment. And Soviet society was transforming at the time, too. You had perestroika and glasnost, two Gorbachev-linked policies taking place at the same time that the inspections were in. So we were in Soviet society at a time of great transformation, which meant that we would be talking to them about these major changes in their life. They're in deeply personal issues like, what is my economic future going to be like? How am I going to feed my family? How am I going to... and so they stopped being the enemy and they started being humans that you cared about. You truly cared about them. You wanted good things for them. You wanted their life to go well. You became friends with them, even though we weren't supposed to become friends. And So it was just an absolute eye opener. It's one that got replayed with Iraq because I went to war against Iraq. And I mean, I wasn't a frontline combatant, but I would do things such as gather intelligence and then turn that into a target that would be struck that would kill Iraqis. And some of these targets were of the nature that there was more than a likelihood that Iraqi civilians were being killed. That means families, women and children. But it was a military target with military necessity, and the force deemed was proportional. Now, if you're somebody like me who's married, who wanted to have kids at the time, et cetera, you would go insane, literally insane, if you viewed your work from the perspective that these Iraqis are human beings. You would go insane. So you have to turn them into the enemy. You have to harden yourself and say, no, these are evil people doing evil deeds, and they must be brought to heel. And that way you can look at a target that you know people are in, you know the 2,000-pound bomb is going to hit, and you know people are going to die, and you're not going to commit suicide. Wow. So you become hard. And then all of a sudden the war's over, and a few months later, I'm sent back to Iraq to inspect. And I get off the airplane, and there's the enemy. Except, damn it, they're nice people. They have senses of humor. They care about their families. They love their families. They love their country. They laugh. They cry. They weep. I mean, the whole thing. And you just realize at that point in time just how stupid war is, how utterly wasteful and stupid war is. Because the people that you're trying to kill one day are literally, if you look in the mirror, they're you. They just happen to live in another part of the world under maybe a different political system, but they're not inherently evil. They're not bad people. And it hardened me to, again, I'm not a pacifist by any means. If you come after my family, I can go into hardened kill mode that quick. It's easy, but I don't want to. What I want to do is peacefully coexist with the world. What I want to do is ensure that if there's a problem, that we exhaust every means short of war, find a solution before we talk about going to war. That the last option is the option that sheds American blood and sheds Iraqi blood.